What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can choose a press release and what's the best press releases to use in different situations. So I hope this video helps you out. I hope it can teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you are looking for a daily training guide with everything you should be doing on the field for your route running and in the gym to develop speed, explosiveness, balance, the works, check out that very first link in the description below for our 4-week ultimate wide receiver training schedule. It's a daily training schedule with the exact sets, reps, and workout splits wide receivers should be doing on the field and in the gym. We include rest days, like I said, upper body days, route running days, everything that you could think of. So check out that very first link below. Let's get started with this video. So now, first situation here we're going to be talking about is head-up press coverage. So head-up press coverage is kind of a tricky one, right? Because this DB could play it either way. When it comes to your press releases, it is not about what route that you run. It is about what the DB is showing you pre-snap and how you guys can react off of that. You should always come into line with the plan and what you like to do based on the DB's leverage. So we got Davante Adams here working this kind of attack release. I would call this almost like a closed distance release, if you will. Some people call this maybe a 4-step release, but essentially we have head up press. And anytime that we get head up press, how you can choose your release is you honestly just want to be able to react off of him. You want to put yourself in a position to where you could release inside or you could release outside based on his leverage. So after we talk about this head up press look, we're going to be talking about inside shade and we're going to be talking about outside shade. So what you guys should do against those. Now, like I said, when we have head up press, he could shade to the inside, he could shade to the outside. We're going to talk about the responsibilities of those leverages in a second, but when he's head up, we don't know. So what Adams does, because he's got about maybe a yard or two of space, is he closes the distance. When he closes the distance with this DB, all this is about is just gathering info to see how he's going to play. Now, this DB has one of 3 options when he's kind of head up and 2 to 3 yards off. He could shade to the inside, he could shade to the outside, or he could just backpedal and sit right there. Now, whatever option that is, we got to be able to have a plan for it. That's why the release that you choose against head-up press is very important, that you can go either way. You can go slant, you can take an inside release, you could take an outside release. In this case, it's a slant. So we kind of only can do an inside release, if you will. But if we had to run a post, if we had to run a fade, you should be comfortable taking the inside or outside release against head-up press. So you see when Adams, he goes to attack and closes the distance, this DB starts to keep his leverage a little bit to the outside. So what does he do? He throws this crossover move to the outside. Hips and shoulders go, throwing a fake to the outside, attacking his leverage, because when a DB is outside leverage, he's trying to protect the outside. Just like when he's inside leverage, he's trying to protect the inside. So we have to react off of that. So when you get head up press, just make sure you're in a situation to react. Now, you might ask me, well, what if he's not 2 to 3 yards off? What if he's head up and, like, let's say Davante Adams is on the ball and this DB's head up coverage right in front of our face, but he's head up. He doesn't have a specific leverage. You could use something like maybe a split release or some kind of hesitation release. So like what a split release is where this front foot goes out and the back foot goes up. So you kind of split your feet to hesitate for a second. But while you split your feet and you hesitate, you get a read on the DB. You see what leverage he decides to choose. And because your feet are in that balanced split position, you could push inside, you could push outside. So like I said, fellas, head up press, just make sure that we have the ability to go outside or inside when I'm choosing my release. Let's play this thing again full speed. Great job by Adams attacking the leverage, closing the space, and then using that crossover. Okay, so now this is going to be outside leverage. So this wide receiver, this is Rashad Bateman in college. And he is going to be running a post route. So anytime that you have to run an inside breaking route and you're facing outside leverage, the one thing, again, coming up pre-snap, it's not based on what the route is. This is not a release where he's like, okay, every time I run a post route, I'm going to use this release. Maybe every time he runs a post route versus outside leverage, he's going to use this release. But it's based on the DB's leverage, what we choose off a line. How is he going to line up and how am I going to react to that? So he does something we call like a triple step release, where you take pretty much essentially 3 steps to the outside and break on this post. So why would he decide to do something like this? So like I said, DB's lined up a little bit shaded to the outside. You could tell by where his right foot is, because his right foot is outside of the receiver's front foot. So he's shaded just a little bit to the outside. Not a ton, but a little bit. So why would a DB ever be playing outside leverage? Because he's trying to force you where? Trying to force you to the inside. So if you're running a post, he wants you to run that post, because when he's outside leverage, he has help to the inside. He has safety help, maybe a linebacker's drop and playing like kind of a robber situation. But he has help inside. He is trying to funnel you to his help. When a DB is lined up inside shade, and we're going to talk about this in a second, his job was to funnel you outside because the sideline is his help. He doesn't have safety help, but the sideline is his help. So it kind of depends on his leverage. Now, what Bateman does here is he attacks him with this triple step. So 1, 2, 3. Now, the reason why he does that is to close the distance with the DB, number one, but also to kind of get him to move off the platform. When you want a DB to move off the platform, when you want him to react to the release that you're doing, you're trying to get him off balance, you have to kind of threaten him where he doesn't want you to go, right? So like if he doesn't want us to go outside right here, I'm going to threaten him outside. I'm going to try to make him think that I am running a fade. I'm going to attack him. I'm going to close the distance. I'm going to sell with my upper half, have some sudden feet to me, whatever the situation might be, because that's going to force him to have to honor the fade and honor the leverage. Now that can create some space for us back inside. Now, if I have to run this like post route, I got to run this dig route. Like we were saying, it's an inside breaking route, but he's got safety help over here. So it's very, very important that when you attack, when you have outside shade press and you have that inside route, that after the break point, you get skinny. You attack him, you go wide, but you get skinny. So you get into his cushion. I call it getting hip to hip with the DB. So when you break that thing off, it's a bigger window between the DB and the safety. Now, what a lot of wide receivers will do is they'll attack like this, but like I said, his sole responsibility is to protect the outside and force you inside. So a lot of wide receivers will attack, but instead they run away from the DB and break off on the post, but you're running right into a safety. We have to get skinny. We got to get hip to hip with him and force that bigger window for my QB to be a QB-friendly wide receiver. So that's how you would choose a release against outside shade press. Again, it is all about, fellas, it is all about how the DB lines up. You should come up to the line every single game, and this is something that not enough people talk about. You don't want to have a million things on your mind. A lot of people misread these videos and think that I'm trying to say that, oh, you should be thinking about all this stuff. I'm breaking it down so you understand and it becomes an automated habit when it's time to actually roll. But going into a game, you should have 5 to 6 releases, and that's pretty much it. You can't think about the 20 to 25. You got to have 5 to 6 ones that you like, that all can build off of each other, and that can work against different leverage looks. Because you watch film on a team, you study a DB, you know how he's probably going to line up most of the time. And let's say most of the time he's outside shade, you should be prepared for that. It's about preparation, fellas. These guys don't just walk out there and run routes. They're at a high level. They don't walk out there and run routes. They prepare, and that's what makes a great receiver. Let's play this thing full speed. Great job by Bateman attacking, getting skinny, and then being able to win on that post. Okay, so now, this is going to be a release for inside shade, kind of press coverage, and this is more so along the lines if you are a faster wide receiver. Now, if you're on the slower side of things, don't panic. I have a release after this example here of Antonio Brown. I have a release for a guy who's maybe on the shorter side, or not shorter, slower side of things against inside shade press coverage. So Antonio Brown's going to be doing something we call a slide and go. So this is kind of opposite of the rule maybe that we were talking about in the last example, where if you have a DB's leverage, you want to threaten his leverage and then be able to work outside. But I like this preferably when you feel you're faster than the DB. So he comes off the ball, he does a little hesitation go. This little hesitation skip gets that DB to sit inside and he wins over the top. Now, this release builds off of a couple things, right? So like when he does this little hezzy skip right there, that gets the DB's tempo to stop. When we hesitate, he's going to slow down. That's just a fact. He's not going to bail out of there for no reason. But that also looks like another release. So the only time, fellas, that you maybe would not want to attack his leverage is like if you were running a slant route against inside shade press, for example. Like let's say it's inside shade press, you have to run a slant. You could do something called like a diamond release or maybe a slide release, which builds off of this like hesitation shuffle, where essentially you're threatening the outside shoulder of the DB with the fade. So he opens up the gate and we slip underneath and run a slant. So this release right here, I like personally how you choose this release is we come up to the line, we see the same type of coverage that I saw versus that slant that I ran or maybe that I've ran it on film before, and I try to get him to sit to the inside. I try to get him to anticipate what I am doing. I get him to stop his feet, and that way I can win on the fade. So that's what Antonio Brown does. He comes off, he hesitates, then he takes off, beats him with speed, swats the hands. That is everything. That's honestly all you really need to do, fellas. But that's the same things that I was talking about, where It's not, you don't want to have 7, 8 different releases on your mind. You should have 5 to 6 things that all can build off of each other. In his release bag, he probably has a release where he's going to hesitate, hit a move outside, run a slant. Now he's going to hesitate, go. And both of those work hand in hand because now the DB has to rely on his technique. He's second guessing himself, and we can be a step ahead of him when we do that. So that's how you would pick that release. I like this kind of slide and go when we have inside shade press, but also we have maybe worked a slide and a crossover or like a hesitation and then run the slant inside first. Let's play this thing again, full speed. Great job by Antonio Brown being patient and then winning with speed over the top, swatting those hands and getting that ball on that fade. So now, like I said, if you're maybe on the slower side of things, I guess, and again, it doesn't need to be crazy slow, but maybe you just feel that the DB's faster than you. You could be a fast wide receiver, but you're just going up against a DB who runs like a 4.4. So it's tough sometimes to do that little hezzy go because that DB's got great recovery speed. So in a situation where we have inside shade press, you can always rely on attacking his leverage. And that could work on that fade route too. This is going to be a hitch route, but that could also work on the fade. It's the same idea. So let's play at full speed. So he attacks him, gives him a move inside, bursts outside, and wins on this hitch. That's a textbook route there. Personally, fellas, too, I just want to include this. I don't like the hands swing up. I feel like that's a big indicator, so try to avoid that at all costs. But now when we go up here, you see again, he's inside shade for a reason. He's trying to stop the slant. He's trying to stop the post. Nothing crosses his face. He's forcing everything outside to his help, which would be the sideline, right? So what he does with his release here, Shakir, is he attacks his leverage. He closes the space. He does a little hesitation hop, head fake inside. Because if I get this DB to hesitate to his leverage, because he's maybe threatened a little bit by the slant, by the drag, by the post, and all those are in real game situations, obviously, that can get him to sit, and that could give me more space to the outside. When I feel I can't use that hezzy go release that we just saw from Antonio Brown. So this is another release you could do. It doesn't have to be this exact hesitation hop. You could do a crossover even, where you step with this foot here, and then you jab with the front foot inside. You go 1-2. Or maybe you go inside foot, inside foot, 1, 2, 3. Just something that attacks that leverage, can threaten him with the slant even just a little bit to hold him inside so I could win back outside. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. This is a great job here, attacking leverage and showcasing how we can choose a press release versus that inside shade press. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comments section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like a 4-week wide receiver gym and on-field training schedule with everything wide receivers should do on the field and in the gym, mapped out sets, reps, rest days, conditioning days, everything, check out that very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.